Hey, it's Anthony Wofford, How to Get Into Drama School. Welcome to another awesome podcast. Today is about BA versus BFA. If you've ever considered double majoring, or if you've ever considered, I want a normal college experience, or if your parents are encouraging you to have a backup plan and go to a school that has more well-rounded, options, BA programs are something you have perhaps considered. So what I wanted to do is offer someone who is just a great actor, a super amazing person. Her name is Erin Pruziner, and she graduated from the USC Bachelor of Arts theater program. And she was active in her sorority. She was active in other student groups. She had an amazing time in college. She had 2 years at a smaller college in New York, and then she transferred to the big USC program. And she's very smart about her decisions. She took everything into consideration, and she went with the BA route. So this is a good option for those of you who want to, have a good acting training, but still have tons of other opportunities and spend your time not necessarily so much deep into the craft, but also get a normal college experience and a fun college experience. And for others who are interested in the BFA program, this interview might enlighten you as to what you're really getting into, the rigor of BFA programs versus the more general education and theater training of a BA program. So without further ado, this is me and Erin in the car driving and talking about BA versus BFA. Enjoy. Let's start with what's the difference between a BFA program and a BA program. Having gone to a BA program, knowing tons of people who go to BFA programs, including myself.
Sure.
Differences.
I mean, I think the general colors of each are very different. The BA program is going to be a larger pool of students. It's going to be less intense. Whereas in a BFA program, you're going to be with a small group of students, and you're going to do everything with them. You're going to have very intense, concentrated training. Your shows are probably going to be separate from the BA shows. You might be cast by teachers rather than by auditioning. You're just a little more isolated and in your own bubble, your little BFA bubble, whereas a BA is going to be more of a general education, maybe less intense. You're in a larger pool of students, but you have a little more freedom to build your education the way you want, as far as extracurriculars go or classes that you're interested in. Did you want to look into theater and therapy? Did you want to look into, theater history more? What kind of acting did you want to pursue, rather than you're on a track and these are the courses you're going to take, these are the people you're taking them with. You kind of have a little more freedom to not only pick and choose what you want to do in your acting program, but what you want to do in university.
Right.
You know what I mean? So do you want a double major? You're going to be able to do that when you have a BA. Are you a transfer student? You're going to be able to do that when you're a BA. You can transfer to a different school and still pick up your BA. That's no problem. You might be able to do that with the BFA as well.
I don't know.
I think you can. I think you can transfer into BFA program, but you'd have to maybe stay longer.
Not at some of the schools I'm aware of, top schools. No.
I do think I had a transfer student in the BFA program in my transfer class, but I do think he had to stay an extra year to graduate with the BFA class that he was being put into. He was being put into, I think, the second year of BFAs. Anyway, but you can do more things. If you're interested in extracurriculars outside of acting, you're going to have more time to do that. So I think that's probably the general differences between a BA and a BFA.
Do you remember your audition for your BA program?
Yeah.
Okay, so question is, because this is about how to get into drama school.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we're not saying how to get into only BFA programs or only BA programs, but in general, how to get into drama school. What do you think the differences are between, describe your audition at your program?
I'm from New York. I'm a transfer student, so I'm a bit of, an odd case. I'm not going to be the way that everybody is, but I was a transfer student, so I went to school in New York for 2 years, and then I decided this program's not for me. So I went to California, and I kind of looked at all the schools, got to know them, and then set up an audition in New York City at a hotel where they had many, many schools auditioning from all over the country. A lot of California schools were auditioning that day. So like UCLA was auditioning, USC was auditioning, Chapman was auditioning, the bigger named acting schools out here in California.
Did they say that this was for the BA audition, or was it BA, BFA? Was it just a general USC audition?
I think it was a general USC audition.
Okay.
I can't remember exactly.
But did you apply? But you applied to the BA program. They didn't place you.
I don't remember, to be honest with you. I was never interested in the BFA program because I wanted to graduate on time. And I know that, like, it was already such a handful getting into a university as a transfer student, making sure all your credits were transferring, taking extra credits for prerequisites that you were going to need, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't really remember. I'd have to look into that and see what I did. I don't remember ever it being an option for me. But, look into that if you're interested. I'm pretty sure you do probably apply to be in the BFA program.
Yeah, I think you do.
I'm sure you
They
have to
have
do
separate
that.
sections on the website. There's different curriculums.
Yeah,
you don't want to be
have to prepare different things or let them know.
But with the audition.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Do you remember what you had to do?
I had to do 2 contrasting monologues. I had to do 2 pieces. I did, I think I did like 1 classical piece, and I did comedy. I did different ones. I had a bunch of pieces that I was preparing because I auditioned for drama school twice. My first time around and my second time around. So I got into 2 different drama schools. I auditioned twice. I did, oh my gosh, so long ago. I'm old, listeners. I'm very old.
What monologues did you do?
Geez. I think I did, oh my God, my first time around, I did the female odd couple. It was just really funny and it was very me. I think the second time around I did a Helena monologue from Midsummer Night's Dream. And at one point I did a monologue from like Euripides at one point. Weird choice. But it was great.
Greek.
It was a Greek piece. Those are the only things I really remember doing. Oh, and I did, it was like a Joan of Arc piece. Like, that
As
play?
A modern piece?
No, it was like a play, and Joan of Arc had a monologue.
Like Saint Joan from
Saint Joan.
George Bernard Shaw?
Yeah,
wow.
That one. I was so lazy. I don't even think I read the play. Don't do what I did, guys. But it's good news is that you could still get into drama school when you don't do due diligence.
Amazingly talented.
Just really doing the bare minimum. I just worked the hell out of these monologues and I guess did well enough to get into USC with it.
All right, so that's a
Saint Joan, definitely USC.
Saint Joan
was my dramatic
Euripides,
piece. Yeah.
Helena, and Odd Couple female.
Pretty sure, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So,
weird choices.
That's fantastic. We all have weird choices when we're in high school.
Yeah.
Kind of whatever speaks to us.
I was really involved in like school clubs and could not be bothered for college auditions at the time. So guys, take notes. Don't be me.
That's great.
It all worked out for me, but just don't trust that that's going to work. I got lucky.
Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about prep.
Yeah.
Do you remember prepping? You said you worked the hell out of these monologues. Like, do you remember getting coaching or like what did you do?
Okay, first time around, no. First time around, I was super involved in school clubs. If there's any listeners out there that are like me who love acting and I'm, naturally gifted at it, which is I'm so lucky. Kind of always ran off my instincts. Never really had formal training except for in high school. I was in all the shows, like leads in all the shows. Huge into my drama department, but I wasn't like you.
It was like practical experience.
It was practical experience. I wasn't like you who was like in a crazy program that was super intense.
Yeah.
Like I just happened to be the top dog of my high school drama program, and I knew this is like something that I was meant for and I wanted to pursue it. I knew that everything in me was like lent to being an actor. I was just naturally programmed to be an actor. Yeah, so I didn't actually do much prep my first time around. I picked 2 monologues that I liked to do that I was passionate about and made me feel things and I could connect with. And I just worked on them on my own. I basically asked my drama teacher, hey, what do I do? What do they mean by this? And she's like, oh, contrasting this, pick one of these and pick one of these. And I'm like, okay, great. And I did, and I worked on them on my own. And I got into my top choice at the time, which was SUNY New Paltz, which was kind of like a little hippie school with like a great theater program, great theater tech. And then when I got there, I was like, this isn't fulfilling everything. I want to go to a more intense school. So I looked into USC. I chose USC because it had an incredible film program, and I knew I wanted to do acting for TV and film, and I knew I wanted to work with Trojan Vision, which was like basically, E-News or like, Look What Happens Live or whatever those shows are, you know what I mean? Like hosting. I knew I was going to be able to host things at that, basically, like we had our own little broadcasting station. So I chose it for its resources, and this one I did more. I was hell-bent on getting out of New Paltz. I knew this wasn't right for me, and I knew I wanted SC. So I did. I went and I got coaching from a theater actor in New York. I looked into that. I just remember him being really into like having us do the monologues as an animal. He's like, okay, now do it as a tiger. Just channel it as a tiger. I was like, okay. I think you just kind of have to play around with what works for you. Talk to different people. Look into coaches. If you start early, I would say for sure, start early. Like start meeting coaches that jive with you. Get the most out of your monologue. Too many cooks in the kitchen could be kind of hard. I think you kind of just need to figure out what opens you up and works for you, what you feel like you're giving the most honest performance doing. You know what I mean? What vehicle gives you the most honest performance?
Yeah, and I think that when you're that age and when you're really excited about where you're applying and everything, I've noticed everybody, including myself and you, it sounds like, always have a good kind of internal radar for like, well, that's going to work for me, or I don't know if I'm really vibing with that,
Yeah.
So, I like what you're saying as far as find coaches, look early.
Yeah, look early.
And so see who you vibe with.
Get it done the first time around. Yeah.
That's great.
And that being said, guys, if you do end up at a school, just for like future use, if you end up at a school and you don't like it, that's okay. Like, don't be afraid to go elsewhere and audition for drama school again somewhere else, because it is really a lot of pressure to find the right program for you right away. And it's a huge thing when you're going there and you feel like, wait a minute, this is not me. Like, take that pressure off yourselves now. This isn't the end of the world where you end up. You can change your school later on. Find a place that you're passionate about now and go for it, and don't put this pressure on yourself like this is going to be it. And if you don't get into the program that you really want to get into, you can try again.
Absolutely.
Transferring is an option.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. I got to go to 2 schools. I have best friends from both of those schools. It was a great experience. I'm so glad I transferred.
Tell me more about like the things you were able to do in your BA experience at college.
Yeah. Well, I think that a lot of actors love being actors because they get to step into the shoes of so many different people. And so as actor people, we have huge imaginations and huge interests in a lot of things. We have so much passion in our hearts for so much, like, whether it be space or singing or whatever it is.
Absolutely. Curiosity.
We're very curious people. And I knew that I loved music and wanted to sing. I knew that I wanted to explore Greek life. And I knew... Meaning? Being in a sorority. For those of you who aren't into that, Greek life, sisterhood, brotherhood. I knew I wanted to do football games. I knew I wanted to get into like other... I play lacrosse. I wanted to play lacrosse. I wanted to have some athletics in my college experience. So being a BA student really allowed me to explore all of those different sides of me and parts of me. It gave me more free time that I could build my own schedule and figure out what I wanted to do, what really drew me. Also, I met such a huge group of people. Now, as a BFA, you are still a part of your university's theater program. You're still going to go to the same theater parties and you're going to meet everybody. You're going to be taking classes with that group of people, and it's your choice if you want to stick with that group of people or if you want to branch out and make friends with other people in your department. But, as a BA, you're going to be in your prerequisites with so many different people. You're just going to be meeting a lot of cool kids, and I think that's pretty amazing. So yeah, BA really allowed me to kind of pursue many different sides of myself. Yeah, so I was in an a cappella group. We're an award-winning a cappella group. I got to go on tour with them. I got to sing. I got to open for Ben Folds with them. I got to play lacrosse with a great group of girls. I got to be in a sorority where my sorority sisters all work for Disney and ABC and major networks that I still use to this day. I get to go and have lunch at Disney and, go to premieres with them, and, they can give me advice and I can network through them. So it was really beneficial for me to utilize the freedom of the BA program. I really like that. And also, I knew I wanted to do TV and film, so I got to pick the electives that were more geared towards my interests, rather than being on a track where you're taking this, 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 and this.
Yeah, because BFA, they more or less tell you exactly what you're going to be taking for those years.
Right.
Whereas with BA, tell us more about that. Like,
BA,
your freedom to choose, and what type of classes did you do that maybe a BFA wouldn't have done?
A BA has to take your general prerequisites for theater. So theater history, theater tech, directing, movement. You have to take you have to hit your prerequisites. But after that, I was taking a voiceover class. I was taking a mask work class. I was taking voice and speech, which, there is prereqs for that as well. But I was taking I took Fitzmaurice. I was going more in depth with things. Like I said, theater and therapy. You got to kind of pick, or theater for acting for film, television acting, sitcom acting. There were specific electives you could take that are geared more towards someone's interests, that you want to do that. So I got to.
That's cool.
I got to really fill my days with those things that interested me. Yeah.
One thing I'm kind of hearing, and obviously bouncing off my own experience in a BFA program, is that BA experience is, the word I'm hearing is a lot more kind of, I guess, diverse and exploratory. Mm-hmm. You're free to kind of explore some of your curiosity around the topic, around the topic of theater, and it's flexible.
Yeah.
Whereas, with BFA, it's more like, we understand that you want to be here as an actor, and this is what you need if you want to be an actor.
More
Whereas
intense.
You're curating your experience a little bit more with the BA thing. And I've heard you say also, just so we can, have there's always consequences to everybody's decisions. Like for me, my consequences were, there's no Greek life at Juilliard. There's no football games. There's no quad, yada, yada, yada. There's all sorts of compromises or consequences, whatever you want to call them. But with you, we've talked about the depth of training. Let's say when we've talked about Chekhov or other things, would you say that,
I missed out?
Would you say that, how would you tell someone who has not been to a BA or BFA what the depth of training is like and the differences there?
Well, I think, you get out of it. I think a lot of it is getting out what you give. How much are you going to look into this? Obviously, I had a lot of interests and I was pulling myself in a lot of different directions. So that's a thing. I definitely could have spent more time diving into those things and utilizing my resources. I mean, one of my teachers, Mary Jo Negro, she's Juilliard. I think she was in the first class.
Group 1.
Yeah, Group 1. She was there to teach me Chekhov, and I would work with her, and she was wonderful, and she gave her BA students just as much love and attention as her BFA students. I felt I could always go to her office to work on pieces. I think that as a BA, you have the opportunities to still do that, you know what I mean? To still go to your professors and do great work, But yeah, for sure, I feel like I got more of a blanket education. I know when I talked to you about Chekhov and just playwrights in general styles
banging on the wall and tears.
Yeah. So I just kind of felt like I got more of a general blanket education. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. I don't think I ever really full on explored something for more than a semester. I had a semester of Chekhov training as one of many classes. I never got to do a play. I never got to really get into it. We had one scene and we got like a general, from one teacher's perspective, like a way of attacking it, a general understanding of his style. I'm using Chekhov as just an example. You know what I mean? Like, this is true for all
different
other
subjects.
Yeah, exactly. And so you just kind of got a little bit of you got a taste of everything. You never really mastered any of it. All of it was just giving you as many tools as you could get. You know, like, here's an introduction to a tool.
Try it out.
As
much or as little as you want.
Right. And now you have that tool. You're not an expert on that tool, but you kind of know how to use it.
You're aware of it.
You're aware of it, you know? Like, you're aware of it. You have working knowledge of this tool. Whereas, like, I'm a welder, and I could weld anything at this point. You know what I mean? You're like, here's a blowtorch.
I've been to the hell and back with this tool.
Right, to this tool. I know it like the back of my hand. This is more just like, oh, I get the general mechanics of welding. Kind of, yeah.
So I think that's clear. What about, last question, at least for this conversation, is parents. Like, when you told did you apply for any other type of school, not a theater program?
No.
Okay, so you were definitely going for theater.
I was going for theater.
And did you apply for any BFA? And did your parents approve, or how did your parents respond to what you wanted to do?
Again, I'm an odd case because New Paltz looked so charming when I was in high school, and I was like, so everyone's like, you should go there, you're so quirky, and it's great, it's such a quirky school for fun, quirky people.
Like,
so there was no BFA program there. I just got into the theater program, and that was it. And then when I was transferring, I was like, I'm not made of money, I'm going to a very expensive school, I'm going on scholarship, I can't stay an extra year, so I just got to get in and get out with the program that I can get in and get out with. So BFA was just never an option for me. But my parents were totally down. I think a lot of us actors who are born as actors and just know from day one, like, this is me. I am meant for this. You know what I mean? I think your parents know that too. And I'm very lucky that I had a set of parents who really respected that. And they were like, yeah, this is her. This is what she lives and breathes. Like, she's going for theater and there's nothing we can do about it. If you have parents who are not as cool with it and you need to compromise with them, maybe you want to look for a university that can do both, has a killer program and other options for double majoring. That's a huge advantage of being a BA. You can double major. Another interesting fact, I knew a lot of BAs who didn't get in as theater BAs because they didn't get into the program via their audition. So they came in as like French majors or whatever and then transferred to the theater program. Life hack. That's not going to be you guys because you're all so talented. It's not going to be an issue. Just saying, there's all sorts of people who make up a BA program. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, that's really awesome. Yeah, that's good. I think that's really, really helpful when people are looking at, their own personal circumstances, and some people are looking at those two different types of programs and want more information. And Erin, went to a BA program and had a great, experience, and it's important for you to get her story. So final thoughts, closing statement for these students. If someone's looking at, weighing the pros and cons of BFA and BA, as a graduate of a BA program, what are your final kind of summary thoughts?
The summary thoughts. Okay. Pros: flexibility, fulfilling more parts of yourself, like the athletic side, the school spirit side. Not saying you can't do that as a BFA. You can. I'd say like really just like the flexibility of the program is a huge pro. Con is like you're not going to get as sharp of the tools. Like, you're not going to sharpen your tools as much. It's not as intense. But just don't feel guilty if you don't want to be a BFA, because you can get an amazing education as a BA and you get out of it what you put into it, and you can sharpen your tools as much as you want. You're going to have the resources there for the most part. I'd say that. I'd say those would be the pros and cons, the big headline pros and cons.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. My pleasure. Good luck. Break legs.